My name is Ruden, and I'm probably the only seven-fingered diabetic, disabled powerlifter, motivational speaker, and online nutrition and fitness consultant that you know, specifically. So I was born with physical disability where two fingers on my left hand, shorter left arm, the ulna and radius aren't fused together properly, so it limits motion. I didn't get diabetes until 19. Growing up with a disability, whether it's a good area or a bad area, in my case a bad area, I got made fun of a lot for things I couldn't control, like the way I looked, you know? And that sucked. And I always hid that from my parents. Like, I didn't tell them that I was getting made fun of because I was embarrassed and I was scared that they would be upset, you know? And I had to learn really quickly that it wasn't my fault, you know? I didn't hide it one day, and I came to my mom, I was like, I don't want this. I don't want to look like this. I don't want to look like a monster. You know, please fix this. Can we just get a real arm? You know, I want something that looks normal. I'm tired of playing the monster at recess, you know? And watching my mom cry and then hug me, and she was like, I'm sorry. You know, it took that, her saying I'm sorry. Like, a parent should never have to say they're sorry for something they couldn't control either. It took that for me to realize, like, damn, okay, I need to change how I think about things, because obviously it's not gonna fix anything. You know, so I say that because by the time I got diabetes, I was ready to deal with anything. You know, like any other stuff that was gonna happen to me, I knew how to kind of frame my mind around it. So when I was diagnosed with diabetes, I was going to the bathroom a lot, you know, I didn't even know what happened. You know, I had no clue what was going on. I was working at a hospital at the time, and I went to one of the doctors. He checked my urine. He's like, good thing is you don't have any infections, bad thing is you have diabetes. He had a terrible sense of humor. I'd have rather the infection, you know? I was in the hospital for a few days, and they were kind of explaining everything to me, and I didn't really grasp what that meant. For the rest of my life, I was gonna have to take insulin 6-7 times a day, you know? For the rest of my life, my whole day was gonna be based around this, you know? Walking around with a $7,000 pager, you know, insulin pump. I wasn't aware of that at the time, but I knew if I wanted to do something that wasn't gonna hold me back and help other people, I had to beat that. You know, I had to learn to deal with it and learn to make something of it. So for me, that was my driver. You know, my disability, my diabetes was my driver to get into fitness, and I wanted to be a bodybuilder. You know, I've always done everything that people said I couldn't do, and I wanted to do it better than them. I played drums, taught martial arts, I did dance, I did like everything weird. You know, I never played sports, could never find the football, like they'd be in the wrong end zone. I had no clue what was going on. I wasn't that guy, you know? But I loved bodybuilding because I was like, okay, I want to get big, and the goal in bodybuilding is to be symmetrical. I'm not symmetrical, but I'm also an asshole and I don't listen, you know? So if you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, dude, that's what I'm gonna do. Well, that takes really long. And when you start as a 130-pound kid with diabetes, trying to build muscle, years, I'm still not there. I don't think you'll ever be there. You know, the day you start lifting is the day you realize you'll never be big enough, and that's life. But I was getting stronger, and a friend of mine came down from Ohio, he was a powerlifter. I was about 20 years old. So he's like, I wanna do a powerlifting meet. Let's prep for a meet together. I'm like, dude, I'm not ready for that. Like, I've never even squatted in reps. I don't even know what that is, you know? And I prepped for it, and I ended up winning that meet overall. I got the best numbers overall, and my first deadlift was 500 pounds. That was my max, you know? At 181, I was like, that's crazy, you know? That blows my mind. My first ever deadlift in a gym was 135, and I didn't have a hook, so I literally used the remainder of my hand, and my back was like bent to shit. Like, I've done a lot of damage in trying to get where I am, but I've also learned along the way. And earning a degree in exercise science kind of helped me fix those issues, you know? So from that moment, that powerlifting, that first ever meet I did, I was hooked.
Big breath, come on. Come on, here we go. Let's go, come on, let's go, come on. Fire it up.
My biggest lift so far is 655, under 200 pounds. At 181, my biggest lift was 630. And that's, you know, missing a hand, but I have to use a hook. and it doesn't, I had an opportunity to get a hook designed that goes above my elbow and above my shoulder, but I thought that was cheating. You know, for me, that's too much contact force. Everyone else just has one grip. So I tightened the hook so tight that usually over 530, 540, my wrist starts to bleed. It's just part of the game, you know, and I've built a lot of scar tissue around my wrist to do that. After 600, it was slipping off even still. So I used skin spray, like skin tack. So I used tack. After 615, 620, it still slid off. So I used skin tack and a wrist wrap over the hook that I used to create even more tightness, and it's held up to 655. The goal for me, I mean, I could say the goal is 700, but the second you hit your goal, you're gonna go more and more and more. But that's what I'm chasing personally. You know, every time I went up a plate from 135 to 225, I thought it was like, there's no way it's gonna be more. By the time I did that first meet, I'm like, yeah, it will be eventually. You know, maybe not now, but eventually. You can just go at Chris Ruden, because that's my name, for any social media, Instagram mostly, also YouTube and Facebook. I also have a podcast called The Chronically Motivated Project, where I pretty much teach people how to think more effectively, you know, and how to overcome any issue just with the way you think. Because you can only control very few things in life. You can control how you think, how you react, and that's it, you know? So my goal is to help people overcome that. The hard part about having a disability, having diabetes, or any issue in your life is never the issue itself, it's the mental aspect of dealing with it on a day-to-day or minute-by-minute basis. You know, if you can learn to think effectively, you can master anything. You know, so make sure you guys check me out, or whatever social media you want to. Reach out to me if you ever need any help. I'm here to help.